Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy. What's up, everyone? It's that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday Show. Presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today. Today, our badass guest is Ernest Colling, aka E. He served 3.5 years in the Army as an infantryman, exiting as a corporal. He co-founded Transcend Company in 2020 and in Transcend Foundation in 2021, both headquartered in Auburn Hills, Michigan. You can catch E on all social channels, handles on the screen, and to follow the show. And to take a deeper dive, go check out transcendcompany.com and transcendfoundation.com. Brother, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, this one is my most exciting one. I can't tell you. And for everybody listening, the reason that this actual podcast exists, which I don't hate calling it a podcast, like PSA, we call it post-service awesomeness, right? But the idea behind this is, you know, we started this just to help guys transition and tell their story of being entrepreneurs, but it wasn't really a thing until Ernie jumped on board and said, hey, I want to get you what you need, and I want to make this thing bigger for you so that you can help more guys. And so Ernie and his company, Transcend Company, jumped in to sponsor it. They are our only sponsor. And because of you and because of the company, we are able to do this on a bigger scale and continue. We've got, I think you're the 80th episode now. So we've got so many special operators from different branches, unique stories that are coming out, telling their story about their entrepreneurship and how they've done it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Our huge team of two, we greatly appreciate you.
Guys, I appreciate you just as much. And, you know, we started as a team of 4 in the basement of my house. So humble beginnings, man, that's the way to start. It makes everything better and sweeter.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well, I want to dig into everything you got. But I want to start out with, you served in the military, you served during the time of war. Transitioning out of that, doesn't matter how long we do it in service, it's difficult. People can't seem to figure out right out of the gate, like, hey, how do I move? How do I actually get into a place where I love again? And how do I feel that fruit again? So what was your transition out of the military like in the civilian world?
Yeah, honestly, it was a bit tumultuous, but, yeah, I was coming out of Brooke Army Medical Center out in San Antonio and moving up back to my parents' house in Michigan. But I already had a job at the time. You know, it was kind of funny that the security companies were going after literally anybody that they could. So they were finding people that were literally, you know, coming out of the hospital units and like, hey, you want a job? I'll go back to Iraq. And people looking like, are you kidding? But I was dumb. I was like, I'd like that opportunity. Yeah, let's do it. So a few months later, after getting out of the military, I went right back. I went right to going right into it and just kind of became part of INSCOM from there.
Wow. That's interesting, man. Getting out, going right back. What was the impetus to getting out of the service?
You know, I had an opportunity to reclass and do a bunch of different things. And at the end of the day, when I was weighing my options, was literally that job that did it. You know, my wife, obviously of 19 years, love of my life, known her since I've been 5 years old. And I knew what I wanted. And I knew if I stayed in, if I reclassed, did all these things, I wasn't going to have an opportunity there. And I wanted to chase the contractor money and do all those things so I could have a life. So I took the risk. I said, fuck it, rolled out. And, you know, in the end, in the long run, obviously everything worked out. I don't know that was the smartest decision at the time, but, you know, it was the one I made and I'm happy I did it. But at the end of the day, I really did it because there was somebody back home I really wanted.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. When you were in the service and growing up, did you know that you had an entrepreneurial mind?
Yeah, it was more mischievous back then, you know, kind of what can I do to, you know, have fun. But I was always coming up with like a scheme or something to, you know, go and do. And, you know, it wasn't long after that I'm like, man, I don't like working for people. This is not nice. Like, you know, I have to do shit I don't want to do to get paid. There's got to be a better way. And then after some time in the military, I'm like, I really need to find a way to not have to listen to other people to get paid. I loved the whole experience, but I mean, for, an entire lifetime, I wanted to do something more. I wanted to do something that had a little bit different type of impact. And I didn't know at the time what the opportunity was going to be. I just knew that at some point in time, when it hit me, I would know. And I know that sounds cliche, but it did. And there was that moment in my life where, I'm looking over at Jen and I'm seeing her and she's phenomenal looking, kicking ass at the gym. And I'm like, damn, this ain't working out so well for me. And, go through all the medical things and everything, and then find out that, I had some issues, and those were the things behind it. And I knew that, all right, I got to get this taken care of. And I did. COVID comes in, knocks all that away. And the guy really just, the doctor at the time, just here, I'm shut down my clinic and I'm doing these other things. This is my patient list and book of business. You sound like an entrepreneurial guy. You should get some investors to do A, B, and C and start something on your own. And I knew it. I'm like, this is my opportunity. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. The experience I had in IT that I did for a while, after I did the whole contractor gig, I knew with that and the passion for health and the stuff that I just experienced, I'm like, there's something here. And nobody's doing this at telemedicine, not at the time. It was, like I said, into 2020, and COVID really just started taking its effect on everything. And I'm like, well, I got to work around this. If it was a problem for me, it's a problem for others. And I kind of knew that social media was the way to go. And, we had worked hard to establish a business, get it started, service some local clients. And then the whole idea was, start reaching out. And we got a couple guys that we were able to meet, and it was Jason Poston and Steve Weatherford. And that was April of 21. And we went down to Fort Worth, Texas, near your neighborhood there.
Come on.
Yeah. And there was a FitCon was going on at the time. And we went down there to meet them. Interesting group of guys, great thing. But at the end of the day, they had the same belief in peptides and, similar ideas. And they gave us a chance. They really did. And when we were able to work with them and then get some content out there, things just blew up, So I think the idea of the way we wanted to do things and the need, we just hit it at the right time and the right way where it just picked up.
Wow. Did you know about these different types of modalities previous to starting this, or did you kind of fall into place learning about this as you were trying to create something here?
I had the highest level of it, right? The gym bro science kind of stuff, things people talk about, take Tren and then take GH and then do this and you're going to be awesome. And then these peptides started coming up and I'm like, what are these? And they're like, oh, it's like growth hormone. Okay. Doesn't sound like that. But when I went on my own protocol, when I actually got on TRT, then I started really finding out about Testmorelin, Dihexa, BPC 157, and what they did and how they helped the body, how they worked. And I tried Testmorelin, and I was like, holy crap! I can sleep. My circadian rhythm's been reset. I'm losing body fat quickly. I've got more energy. Everything was just kind of like in balance. I hadn't felt that good since I've probably been in high school. So I was like, damn, this has definitely got something here. The longer I got into it and the more peptides I got into and the more information I had on it, I just couldn't believe that these weren't being used everywhere. And I really started looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, these are being made at compounding pharmacies, 503A. And the only way you're going to get about any of these things is you're going to have to have somebody who has a specific knowledge and has the understanding. But even then, they may not even know from a physician's perspective how to get the medication to the patient. Nobody had the logistics of the supply chain set up from contact a patient to being able to get it to their doorstep. So that's really the problem we solved. We were able to say, all right, doctor, compounding pharmacy. All right, well, we need an advocate. We need somebody in the center, in the middle, to guide everyone together to get the blood work, get them with a doctor, get a protocol set up, keep them organized, and then make sure that we're educating people in a way where they know what they're getting into. And that's what we focused on with social media and our digital ads and everything like that, is just, hey, here are your options. Here are your priorities. People should know what they can do as an alternative to today's, healthcare system. You don't have to go through the same things, and go through the same, bullshit where you go see a physician and they're like, I don't want to give you those labs. So what are you going to do? You can't get them. And if you do get them, there's a short list this big. And if they happen to find something, now you have to go to a specialist. Now you got to wait 3 or 4 months to get in to see the specialist for them to tell you they can't find anything. Or if they do, they're going to go with the cheapest possible option, because the protocol and everything you're getting for treatment is dictated by the insurance company, not even by the physician. They're only going to prescribe you or give you what they think the insurance will cover. And that's bullshit. That's not healthcare.
Yeah.
That is medicine for profit. And, I won't sit here as a hypocrite. We're a for-profit company, but there's a reason why we have a foundation, because, there's a way to balance those things out where you can have a company and be socially responsible and give back and do something for a community that desperately needs the care and has earned it and earned that right. And the idea was across the board, whether it was for the foundation or for the company, to improve the quality of life of people. And that's what we set out to do. So we leveraged all of our volume, all of our vendors and everything, got the price down as low as we could, went hard on social media, started scaling up, and then we started putting money in the foundation. And that's when I met you.
Yeah.
And then you kind of know some of the story there from that.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the interesting thing about that meeting, because when we started talking initially, the biggest thing is we started to know what TRT, or hormone replacement, was purely because when I got out of the service, I had a blood run and they told me I was at 128, 138 at 28 years old. And I'm like, is that good? Is that bad? And my buddy at the time was a professional UFC fighter. He's like, no, that's just, he's like, you wreaked havoc on your body. And I'm like, really?
Yep.
He's like, you feel like shit? And I'm like, yeah, every day. And he's like, there's a good indicator right there. So I knew about that hormone replacement. Of course, he had me do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, had some deer antler extract that I was taking under the tongue. And I'm like, are you sure I'm not going to grow antlers? And like, what are we doing here? But always interested in that homeopathic method as opposed to taking big pharma bullshit, because there's a lot. I don't go see the doctor. I try to keep it as clean as possible, primarily because of my wife. But then you guys, when we had our initial meeting, started talking about peptides. And I'm like, we're talking about human performance. What are peptides? Tell me about that. And you're like, dude, there's so many, and your body needs these. Your body produces this. I'm like, why is this not so readily available, so public? And they're like, well, that's where we fit in. That's what we do. And I'm like,
Yep.
Talk to me about it. And so I want you to tell everybody, because there's still a shit ton of people out there who do not understand what peptides are, what they do for you, how the body, produces, and then we'll get into Transcend.
Yeah, absolutely. So peptides are simple. They're chains of amino acids that have been engineered and strung together to signal the body to react in a certain way. It could be something for fat loss. It could be something for, blood sugar regulation. It could be, repairing damaged cells, like an injury repair or burn repair. Anything from there to cognitive functionality. There's over 4,000 peptides, and they're continuously, engineered, and new ones are coming out all the time. And they've been around for forever. You can go back, in 40s, 50s, and there's some very base ones that were started, but, mid 60s, early 70s, they really started to, mess around with these, especially internationally. Some of them in, the USSR era. So one of my favorites is from that era, and from a Moscow scientist, dihexa. Yeah. That one we call the limitless pill. It's really great for repairing the neural pathways or damaged brain cells, so to speak. So if somebody had TBI, this is definitely the medication we're giving them. If they have issues with memory recall, this is what we're going to, look at doing. And if you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to get an edge and you really want to increase your speed, so to speak, at least cognitively, this is going to do that as well. But peptides are just that. They're just signalers for the bodies. They're just chains of amino acids. They're actually just telling your body to produce something it already produces. So we have what we call GHPRs, growth hormone producing peptides. It signals to the pituitary gland, okay, create growth hormone and then release it. But it's not synthesis. It's, your body's own growth, being created and released. It's just something's telling it to do that. Same thing with, BPC 157, very popular, the Wolverine peptide. It's, regrowing arms and stuff. Just kidding. But it's, but it does heal wounds very well and injuries and things like that. It's helped a lot of people either recover faster from surgeries, or in some cases where there's an injury where you want to put off surgery, maybe being able to push that down the road or being able to avoid it depending on what it is. But in a nutshell, that's essentially what they do.
Speaking of BPC 157, so, I was on that protocol during my time with 7X doing all the running training. And we had this one training week where it was a half marathon every day for 5 days straight. And, I tried to get it done in under 2 hours so that I could get done, take my kids to school. So there was a time clock there. Well, the last day, it's dark out. I trip, I eat shit, and I cracked my leg. And I got a hairline fracture on one of the, I think it was the tib. But anyway, I get it scanned, and they're like, yeah, you got a crazy hairline fracture. It's in a weird place. And because I was taking BPC 157 so religiously, I continued to run. I didn't miss a beat. I was like, is this thing going to explode on me? And they're like, no, the place you broke it should be okay, but how are you continuing to go? And I'm like, well, it's funny. I'm on this protocol and it's helping me actually heal, which was so interesting. So before we get more into the deepness of the medicines and all that, let's talk about Transcend. So you co-found this company. Let's talk about your process. What does Transcend do for everybody, and how do people get involved in it?
Absolutely. So co-founded it with my wife. She's a COO of the company, also part of the foundation. But with Transcend, generally speaking, you're going to find us through an influencer or through a web search when you're starting to look for peptides or, alternative types of therapies for something, in the homeopathic type of lane. But with us, you're standard, like in any other, clinic, we're going to do an intake doc. We're going to have somebody reach out to you. We have what we call a wellness specialist, and they're essentially a healthcare advocate. They're going to get to know you personally, and they're somebody that's going to stay with you. It's not just like talking to the CNA when you go to the doc and they get the thing and, off you go. This is somebody that is basically connected to you for the entire time you're a patient. So they're going to help you understand what your blood work is, how long it's going to take to get it back, essentially what to expect when you go to the lab, all those things. They're going to make sure they can help you arrange it. So if you need to get an appointment, there's someone there. And we use LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics. So we're nationwide. We're everywhere. Those things are everywhere. But you sign up, all that information is given to you. You're hand walked through it. Go get your blood work done. And then when we get it back, usually 3 to 5 business days, we're going to give you a call and set up a consultation. And at that point in time, we've already gotten all of your medical background and history. You've told us what your priorities are, what your goals are, what you're trying to do. And then we're taking that, looking at the blood work and then analyzing it and saying, all right, here's how we get you back to, where you need to be. And then if you want to, beyond that, this is where you could be. This is what we recommend. And you can have good, better, best, basic, whatever you want. But essentially, if you're looking for, just to get back to homeostasis and you just want to feel healthy again and all those other things, with base medications, TRT, HRT, that kind of thing, you can do it and it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, for, a couple $100, you're getting 6 months worth of meds. It's not too expensive. You get into the peptides, it changes a bit. It can. Now you're talking about designer medications that are made specifically for a patient, at the time they're requesting them. So it's not like going to CVS and getting something off the shelf. We're using a compounding pharmacy and we're ordering that for that specific patient. Everything's based off their blood work, and then it's being sent directly from the pharmacy to that patient. So generally speaking, once they've made the decision to go on the protocol, they've figured out what's right for them. They'll meet with the physician, make sure that all the things that they've discussed with us is exactly what they expect. They don't have any questions. They're happy to go. They push the button. And then 3 to 5 days later after that, they get their medication. Generally speaking, it's about 2 weeks from the time you find us to the time your meds. It can be a lot faster, but life gets in the way. People have to get blood work done, that kind of thing. So some of it's patient dependent, patient driven. But we're there the whole long process to ensure that we can walk you through it all the way.
See, I love the seamless transition is true. So when I got started, I went through a little bit different of a scenario just because we were partnered and working on a specific project. But I had a coach right out of the gate, a wellness specialist who was incredibly versed on all the different things, especially most of it I didn't even know. And so got my blood work done, fasted, 12 hours fasted. And then from there, immediately started running down the list. And they're like, did you know this, this, and this? I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what is that number? And he's like, well, let me walk you through that. And so went through that. On top of that, was more important to me is that I had heard from other sources within your company that you were running to doing surprise inspections on these pharmacies. And that's super important to know that what the hell is in the vial is actually the label is reading the same, that you've actually got these real medicines coming to you that are real. There's a lot of groups out there that are small mom and pop shop trying to make it, but are not producing good product. And you got to be keen and understand what the hell is going in your body. So that was huge for me to know that you were doing that. And then again, the people were awesome, easy to work with. Anytime I had a question, they were ready to go. The product came in ridiculously fast where I'm like, I think I thought I just did my consultation and it's already at my doorstep. Okay. And then like, let me give you some pro hacks on how to do this because you're going to, again, I was on a different protocol because we were testing human performance at a different level. So I had to have a little bit more than the norm, and prepping all that stuff, especially when there's more, can become cumbersome. So
yes, it can.
But it's amazing that you have a company that you've now grown to this level, which people is a very large level, yet there's still like a family run and a family office to where you can always reach out and touch. You can talk to them both on the foundation side to the actual company for profit side. And they absolutely want to help you get better and achieve your goals. It is about your goals here. And so this is why I partner with them. I don't push many products out there because it's so hard to actually really know what the hell's going on. But Ernie's been so transparent and he's welcomed me into his family and to his life and to his company to learn from everybody. And so, it proves for all our athletes during 7X that if you do these protocols, you are going to get healthier, you are going to get better, which is where we all want to be. And so it's like, if you're sitting on the fence thinking like, I just don't want to do this, or I'm not sure, what the hell is stopping you from feeling better? That's my question to everybody.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to education and trust. One, being aware of it, that you can even get to it. And the second part is, would you trust the people to put that into their hands, your health? And we do inspections, and we did them then, we do them now. And, I know the owners of all those pharmacies. I've sat down with their CEOs. I've looked at their, FDA inspections. I've seen all the letters if there are any. We know that the source of the API, which is the raw materials they're using for compounding, is coming from an FDA-approved source, all the way down from the import bill of lading to the batch to where that's gone to third-party independent testing to make sure its stability and efficacy are exactly in line with pharmaceutical grade, that it's 98 to 99% or above. All those little things that most of the other companies, I'm sure, do to some extent. I don't know if they do it to our extent. For me, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. You're going to do it right, get it done right, build a relationship, make sure there's trust. And I think with the pharmacies, we've done that. And I feel confident that any of the medications we are providing to patients, they're legit. They're exactly what they're supposed to be. You're not going to have like the research chemical experience. You're getting a medication that's been put through the paces and been tested all the way through. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had a lot of success with, patients that go on protocol, is they've gotten really good medication that's really dialed into their specific need. This is a concierge kind of a thing. And concierge doesn't have to be super expensive. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And I think a lot of the other companies that are out doing there are trying to find that quick cookie cutter kind of a way, get on subscription, do it this way, and it can be quicker, it can be faster, it can be cheaper, but you're getting what you pay for. And when it comes to, especially the guys that were in 7X, there's a specific need for that level of athlete, for that warrior. And to keep an engine like that running, it requires, the premium, top of the shelf, whatever, they need. And that was the most interesting thing about being able to do the project with you guys, was to be able to say, how good are these medications really? Let's put them through the paces. It's one thing for the average Joe, great, the dads, everything else. I feel great. I feel wonderful. but what else can they impact? How else can these things be utilized? What can they do? And let's face it, the special operations is a very small community across the board. It's very, selective, as it should be. The group of individuals that could qualify for the military and then qualify or go on to become operators and get trained is getting smaller and more difficult, which means you got to have guys on the battlefield for a longer time, and they need to be able to sustain that. And there has to be alternative ways that you're going to provide healthcare to those individuals so they can do it, and do it in a way where they don't just completely deplete their bodies. And I think this is a good start in how we can get them, on that field a longer time.
It's huge. I mean, this is the fire service, police. They're really starting to entertain this. I know RFK Jr.'s on board with this stuff. And so it is. I mean, we always thought about this like, okay, today I'm in San Diego at, sea level. And then 2 days later, I'm in Afghanistan, which I didn't go to Afghanistan, but I'm in Afghanistan and I'm at 10,000 feet elevation, and I'm supposed to operate at the same level. Like, how am I supposed to do that correctly? And so where's my physiology? And so, like Ernie was saying, it's one thing to be, like, rebuild your homeostasis first. You foundationally need to know the basics, and you need to get the basics in order before you start doing what we did, was messing around with the higher level stuff to make you that much more elite. But that's the cool thing. I mean, when we got our package, it was called the Lamborghini package. And I'm like, sweet, let's go. And then I was like, whoa. And we had a lot of cool stuff and a lot of trial and error, because again, everybody's physiology may be somewhat the same, but we all act differently off of certain things. And so you've got to find the protocol and dial it into what's right for you to make it fit so that you feel that. And that's exactly what we did. If you take the time for your health, it's going to pay off dividends in real near future with this stuff. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's why the blood work is important, right? You need to know where you were, see that the numbers are moving in the right direction. How you feel is probably the most important marker, but it also helps when you can look on paper and see that there's been a change in your blood work for the positive, and really help us dial things in or change out a medication, or maybe go from intramuscular to sub-Q or whatever to have a better result. It's that tweaking that really is that extra care that we like to take that I think really does pay through at the end. But, just seeing how you guys were able to go through that entire thing, man, for anybody out there, that project was massive as far as logistics and the things that you put on. And to be on that plane and the next continent and the next continent and the next continent, man, just meeting you guys in South Africa was enough. That was enough of an ordeal just to get there. To do that, 6-7 times over.
That's why it's so crucial, right? Because we're talking about whole health physiology. We're not just talking about one specific thing. There's sleep, there's fuel. There's, how much fuel can you actually feed your body during the day? What do you supplement with, and what the hell's in it? Your circadian rhythm is all screwed up. You're not getting proper workout. You're hamming your body with running, which running is not good for you, and it kills your body, especially that type of running. And then you're traveling to different environmentals every single day. So being able to be on protocol and then testing things. And I remember your doc, he called me and he's like, what is this I hear that you're running close 80 to 100 miles this week and you're getting bigger? And I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. He's like, and it's a brain doc. And he's like, okay, let's revert. Let's think about this. So you talk about the intentionality of what Ernie said, tweaking it to make it right for you. That's the key here. It's not like this is your protocol and you have to stick to it. It's what is best for you is why I love Transcend so much. And I'm so grateful that you set this up, man, because it is a seamless process to get you your meds that you need to start delivering and being like you're present again in life. Especially, I'm talking from the veteran side of the house. It's tough to transition. You don't know why you feel so bad. This is a major step in the right direction to actually help yourself get back to homeostasis. And then on top of that, creating that foundation to be able to support the veterans off of the work you're doing is just incredible. You wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah. I thought I did. I guess I need some over the medication. Oh, now I remember. Seamless process. It's 100% supposed to be. I will say that, we're not a perfect company. We make mistakes, things get lost in the mail. There's things you can't control. But the one thing we'll always do is if something does, happen, we're going to make it right one way or another. But I don't want to have the ego out there that that perfect company, because that doesn't exist. But I think the culture of our people and the values that we've, intrinsically, put into all of them, because we've spent a lot of time investing into them, that's also been part of the reason we've been able to do the things we do in the way that we do it. All those little fine details, all those things, but we're not perfect. But the foundation, though, and going back to the homeostasis, I was talking with Christian and David from Terra Arma, and, they have the medevac and all that stuff. But the speed to being able to help a veteran that's in trouble, that's critical, right? That's important. We all know why. And what we found is there could be 20 different things that are all high priority for that individual, but being able to get it to the point where they have clarity again, they can have sleep, their emotions are in check a little bit more, because when your hormones are off, your emotions are also going to be part of that. Most of them are self-medicating, and they're going in a downward spiral, and it's going quick. How do you block that? How do you stop that? Right? And how do you do that quickly? So then there's a physical change. And the TRT and the peptides, I don't know that they're end-all be-all answer, but they're a damn good start, and we've had really good results with them. And if you can give a veteran hope, if you can let them see that there's an opportunity, a chance, a way to go, they're going to take it, because they want to be alive, and they want to be happy, and they want to be with their families, and they want all those things that we all do. They've just given up because they don't think there's any hope for that. And that's why the foundation is important. And that's our passion. That's my passion, to be able to step in, intervene, and prevent something from going that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing that you do for the veteran and the first responder, because y'all support both, what I love about it is when you're taking somebody who is in that downward spiral, they're not functional. And the goal with them in any type of this is to find functionality again. If I can feel like I'm functional again, and I'm feeling like I can move and groove, I can get back to where I need to be. And so this really is that great first step to say, okay, you learn everything off your blood, right? So It does not lie. There it is right in front of you, owning you and saying, here's the changes you need to make. And if you're willing to accept it, you're going to get to where you want to be. And that happened to me when I started working with you guys. Immediately after starting protocol, because it does take a bit of time to actually build up in your system to where it's constant. But once you get there, which is, I'm the worst at it. Like my wife's like, you never stick with anything. And I'm like, well, you're still married to me. And she's like, well, okay. But with the protocol, I stuck with it. And I was like, wow, I could be the normal idiot I am and just have stopped. But this one I stuck with, and it turned my life around.
I think what people find is, once you're on the protocol and the way you feel becomes such an important thing, it becomes a priority to you. And, people tend to stick with it, based on results, right? We don't buy shitty cars. We go back and get the ones that we liked, that had all the features and functionality and work, right? They don't break down. So when you find something that, is going to help your body improve your quality of life, that's now a priority, and you're going to stick with it. So I really do think that, being able to provide that medication, even though it can be intrusive in daily life, because you're doing injections sometimes every day, sometimes every couple of days, or once a week, depending on what it is. It's not the, greatest thing to have to do, but the result's worth it. And, people stick with it because of that. So definitely a little trade-off, but worth it.
Yeah. Well, you're also a company that supports, which is super important. I mean, you don't just support your foundation, but you support several other foundations. You support individuals. You do things behind the scenes that nobody knows about. I know about this stuff because now Ernie and I are actually good friends, but I also have talked to a lot of his staff who've shared information, not anything bad, but the good stuff of like what he does behind the scenes. This man does so much for people that this is the number one reason why I'm partnered with him and with Transcend, is because of what you do for people. And there are so many people that run companies that, just don't have gratitude, and they don't show love to others. And you do that so much and so hidden. And then the foundation, which I won't get into all the personal stuff that he does, but just know he's done a lot for me personally, a lot for our company, a lot for our 7X project. And I will elaborate on that stuff in my own time. But for the foundation, what was the goal for you in starting this foundation? You already have this megalodon of a project you're working on building your company, and now you want to put a foundation together. What do you do for veterans and first responders?
So obviously we provide our services. So all the medications, depending on everybody's individual needs, somebody that's in, deep peril, financially they're unable, we're going to provide that, at no cost to them. If it's a situation where they need it and, maybe they can't afford it at certain prices, we're going to bring that price down and get it to where they can afford it. And, we're going to work with them and get them right back to where they need to be. But, having the company and seeing that it was starting to be successful, that I just needed to see that the formula was working. Once I knew that, my intention was never to just grow a company. It was to do something bigger and better. And, I spent a lot of time doing casualty assistance and other things. And, I had other personal traumas. I had enough, in life. Everyone has got their story. But if you've seen enough of those things, then you become passionate about stopping those things in any way you can. And it's not always going to be the rifle that fixes the problem. Sometimes it's got to be a bit more intellectual, and we have to take a little bit different road. And I knew I could at least do something that way. So being a quiet professional, it wasn't about notoriety. It wasn't about Instagram or any of those other things. We leveraged those as tools in order to get the message out, but it wasn't the end all goal. So for me, it was really just build the one to support the other and do as much as you can, get rid of that, trauma and grief and pain from others as much as you can. Because if you've experienced it and if you experienced real grief and you've had it more than once, you don't want anyone else going through that. And if you can stop that in any way, shape, or form, that's an enemy worth fighting.
Yeah. When you're hitting these males and females, these operators, these first responders at their lowest, darkest hours, you have to take that seriously and help them and take that on. And as far as the fanfare thing, there's no question about it. Go ahead and go to transcendcompany.com and try to find Ernie's, picture and bio and all his I love me accolades and all that stuff. It's not there. I think his name is cited once in the about page and there's nothing really there, no picture. So it really is about doing the right thing. But what's interesting is you figured out a way to transition, to build something, to make it functional, to make it profitable, to start a charity alongside that, which are also not easy to do. Charities are very difficult because you have to consistently ask for money and it has to be focused and you're taking care of people who have real issues. And you've done all this so well. How do you keep your shit together?
I don't always, that I'll just say that out front, and up front. After you've gone through so many things, right, you're going to either sink or swim. You're going to learn to navigate difficult times or you're going to succumb to them. And I wasn't going to let that happen. And, I felt a sense of responsibility, obligation, duty, whatever you want to call it, because of the ability to do multiple things at once. The more I found I could do, the more I wanted to do. And that just built one on top of the other. And I've got an amazing wife, an amazing family. And, I have the people around me that allow me to be me. Sometimes I can be an ass. And I was able to continue to go down those rabbit holes to find the solutions and perfect the things I needed and wanted to. It can be an obsession, man. I mean, to sit here and pour everything in and build a company brick by brick into the culture, into the people, not to mention all the compliance and business pieces that come along with that. And then on the foundation side, it's full time all the time, every day. But what I've done is I've just intentional focus, constant execution. It's those basics you learn in the military, that never changes. And that's the key, I think, when you're transitioning out of the military and whether you're going to entrepreneurship or, starting a new job or a different aspect of life, those consistence of the discipline, of intentional focus, of being, pointing north in your moral compass and doing those things, it matters. And you do it enough times, with enough repetition, it becomes, a behavior, a habit. And then success becomes a habit, and that becomes an expectation. And I think if you do it the right way, you earn the respect of people, and then you get people that can help you, because you sure as hell can't do this on your own. I didn't do it on my own, and I would never be able to do this on my own. It was done through just being honest, transparent, hardworking, and trying to be able to do right by people and asking for their help when we needed it, which means you have to throw your ego away. That's the biggest enemy of success is ego. And you have to be able to leave that at the door. If you're truly trying to help other people or do something great, you can't do that with an ego. So I think just being able to drop that and, realize you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have failures, get up, do it anyway, continue to have that discipline, and it builds over time.
Yeah, man.
So there's no secret to success, and there's no secret to transition. It's every day staying focused, every day getting up, where whether it's going to be a shit day, it or not, you got to get up and you got to do it anyway.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's interesting that you say all that, because in the military, we do that stuff, but then we get out, we transition, and we kind of just lose sight of it. Right. Like, it's in there, but I got to pull from that again, because now you are not being led anymore. Now you are leading. And so it's a freedom as well as it is a ball and chain, because you are going to deal with a bunch of stuff. But you have done it really well, man. I mean, everybody that I know a lot of your ambassadors that are pushing out product, and they're telling everybody the story about Transcend. I know some of the vets that are involved with the foundation side of the house, and everybody speaks praises, which means that it's got a good culture. You've got a good culture, and that's all based off of your leadership. And so a huge applause to that, man, because I certainly could not run your company. I can't even imagine what it's like to run a company bigger than 2 people. So, I'm happy where I'm at.
I fake it till you make it, but I do have an amazing group of people around me, top-notch professionals. And when you surround yourself with that kind of people and that kind of support, if you do leave your ego at the door and you're willing to have multiple different perspectives, it's really about listening before speaking, hearing what's actually being said, keeping perspective on what's really important and what isn't, knowing you're not going to get to every single thing in a day, and don't try to, delegate with confidence, to people that, trust that can do the job. And, it's really just, that's what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, on top of that, one thing that people don't know is Ernie has actually paid all his employees on the foundation side from his for-profit, which is unbelievable. Every other charity I know, they have to grind it out and raise the capital through the foundation just to, pay their payroll. So being able to give that extra, however many veterans and first responders, the medicine and the medical attention they need, because they don't have to worry about that overhead, is just a huge step. And a lot of charities should act just like that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Oh, for sure. That's my world. I know the charity world. People now think of me as a charity case versus a charity world, but it is what it is. What don't people, and we've gone through a few things, so I wanted to keep it top level, because people who are on the fence just need to understand that this is for everybody. This is not just for certain people. And right. Like you said, it can be very cost effective. Now, if you want to start getting into the world of Michael Phelps, that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
But what have we left out that people need to know? What do you think we haven't covered today that people should know about Transcend, about peptides, TRT?
Ask questions. You don't know everything. Your doctor doesn't know everything. I think we have this misconception that a physician is so educated they know so much more than we ever could individually. And that's just not true. They're extremely well trained in a very specific focus, but the things that we're utilizing on the peptide side, they're not as well known. And there are a lot of physicians that, even after talking to some of our wellness specialists, come back and they're like, I'm going to go do some more research. I'm going to go back and get some more training. I need to know more about these things. And I think that's been the greatest part about it, is being able to create awareness that it's even going back into the medical community and to those professionals realize they don't know everything and they might not be doing everything the right way. And that's raised a lot of questions too, because now doctors have a little bit more of a voice when it comes to being influenced by, certain, entities like healthcare companies and insurance, and how that placates into certain things. And, I don't want to get overly political or do any of those other things. I'm not here for that. But at the end of the day, if you're not asking more questions and you're not doing your own research, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think if people educated themselves, you can get resources from Transcend, you can talk to us, and even the things that you hear from us, I would still say go back and do your own research and do more. I mean, maybe you'll find something out we didn't. We're always love to hear information and feedback from our patients and, people in the community, because it's led us to make decisions that have, come out with great results. And, that's the process that's going to continue. That's going to keep things growing. So that's what I'd say. If people don't know, is realize there's more out there than people have told you. And if you ask more questions and do the right searching, you'll find alternatives and options that will help in a way you probably thought not possible.
Amen, brother. I mean, that's right. Yeah. Your health is your choice. So, it's not the
It
doctor's
is.
choice. It's yours.
It is. And, I don't want to come off either as saying that physicians, don't want to help or don't want to do things. They genuinely have your best interest in heart, and they want nothing more than, to help you and to be healthy. They're just educated into a system in a way where they feel that they're in a left and a right parameter. Here's a good example. When you look in an EHR, like an electronic health record system, and they're pretty common in most clinics, like a primary care physician. And, they're looking at the options of medications that they could provide for certain things. When they click up that software, it's these 20 or 30 things based on this, code. And that's all they have there. And that's what they have to work with. So that's what they're thinking about. If they knew about the other options and had the other logistics and abilities, they might do something different. And that's not taught in the medical schools, and that's not built into the software. And that's why they're not options. Well, why is that? That's another question, probably for a different time at a higher level. But at some point, somewhere, at some time, it's time to start asking those questions and start thinking about better solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. How long is it not going to work before you're going to take the reins back in your own hands?
Well, I'm excited about RFK. I will get political there and say that I think that he's got the right perspective, and I do think that he's hopefully going to help. I think it's going to be good to see a little bit of change, and hopefully it'll go in the right direction.
Yeah, I have the same feeling, brother. What's Ernest Colling's top 5 peptides?
Number 1, dihexa. I love it. I'll keep it with me forever. It is a designer one. It's more expensive. I'm blessed to be able in this position to be able to have access to those kind of things, but just a way that I've been able to use that to increase my ability to do more and handle more. I'm just processing faster, and I'm getting through things quicker. I can make decisions more confidently. I'm anticipating things, as they happen. So I'm better prepared, which makes things go a lot smoother. And in this position, in this chair, needed. Yeah. I like Testmorlin a hell of a lot. It was originally a medication called Agrifta, and it was an AIDS medication essentially that helped destroy the visceral fat around organs. Because a lot of the medications that patients were on caused weight gain. And then it does things like reset your circadian rhythm, tells your body to produce growth hormone and to release it. It's an amazing medication, and it's one that's been around for a long time. I like CJC 1295, ipamorelin, which is 2 blended together. Again, it's a GHPR, which is a growth hormone producing peptide. There's several of those. It's very similar in the way that Testmorlin is, but it's a lot less expensive. And it works in a little bit different way. I would say Testmorlin is definitely more effective, but the CJC is still really good, and it's a really good option too if you're looking for similar results. That's budget friendly. Let's see, number 4, BPC 157. I mean, that thing is just freaking amazing. It, it it's just really good at healing the body. I don't know how else to put it. And it also crushes inflammation. So, if you were having other issues, those are also going to essentially be taken care of with the medication at the same time. And the 5th and final one, oh man, trying to think here. It's a good question because now there's like a lot of options, right? Probably Motzi. And that one is, for the mitochondria, it's going to help increase the health and integrity of the cell. And, it's going to make just the cell work more efficient. And that's going to give you more energy. And I mean, a significant amount of energy. And I'll add another one too. And it's one that I've only used at certain points in times, but it's DSIP, deep sleep inducing peptide. And that's one that can give you 2 REM cycles in a night, usually within a 6 to 7 hour period. And you wake up refreshed. I mean, it is one of those things where you're like, oh, I feel like I'm 10, ready to jump out and do something in the world. And the only other one I'll say, just because I think it's important, is trizepatide. And I know that's a GLP-1, but not for the use of weight loss. It's for the potential and how it's going to be for alcoholism, gambling, basically impulsive behavior. When it's microdosed and used at a certain level, it's done amazing. And we had great feedback on how it helps those patients essentially stop the impulsive behaviors, and it becomes more of a natural or organic type of transition off of those things and away from those things. And it makes it a lot easier for them to get to where they need to be. And anything that supports that is worth getting behind. So I have to put that on the list.
Absolutely.
It deserves it.
That's a good list right there. I like to add one to it. Mine, I love glutathione. I can't get enough. That is one of mine. And not so much fun putting in the thighs for running and then having to run, but just being able to cleanse your body, it is awesome. So that's a hell of a list right there.
Hell wow. Yeah. Tip of the iceberg too. I mean, we could spend 2 hours on this.
No question about it. Yeah, that's why you should go do your research to really learn about peptides, because I'm sure a lot of people don't. They've heard the word. They may have seen a company now posting on social media, but they don't truly know what it is. So go do your research, and a great place to start is transcendcompany.com.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost anything to make a phone call and take 10 minutes of our time and ask your questions. And, we're not going to be offended if you need to hang up the phone and think about it or you decide to go another route. But we're definitely going to spend the time with you and give you all the information we have so you can make your own informed decision.
Yeah, man. That's the truth. I have called so many times because I'm an idiot and I just need the hand holding, but they're there for me and they'll be there for you.
I'm still walking down the hall and asking questions, knocking on doors. So when am I supposed to take this one again? There is a lot to it, but thank God that we have the advocates, because if we didn't, I don't know where I'd be putting things. So.
No question about it, man. Wow. Well, let's flip the script here as we close out. I always ask everybody the same question, but I simplified it now. So who is your hero and why?
My wife, Jennifer. She has been behind me my entire life, through thick and thin, through anything. Nothing phases that woman. And if it does, I've never seen it. Sometimes you come back from certain places, you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure, and I've had that at different points in my life for different reasons. And my number one go-to to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to feel loved, to be able to have a center and just get my perspective aligned where it needs to be, has always been her. She's got a call sign here at Transcend, Lighthouse. And, she's the beacon when you're lost on which way to go. If you look to her, she'll point out the right direction. And she's a very special woman and very near and dear to me, obviously, and to the culture of this company and the foundation because of that. So she's my hero.
There you go. That's awesome, man. And I know I have been privileged to meet and hang out with Jen several times now in multiple countries now. So there's no question. She is an amazing woman. She's tough, which I like too. Got to be
Yeah.
married to a tough one.
Yeah. She is tough.
You guys have put together something very special. It's because of the unity of you two and being able to see outside that people need help and making it effective for us who don't understand things to get involved and get the help we need, because all of us need help. Every single person on this earth needs some type of help. Every person on this earth needs to take interest in their health and wellness, and they need to look at alternate methods. And so that's why I'm so proud to be working with you, just to rep Transcend and just to be friends with you, man.
Absolutely, dude. Blessed to know you as a human. I have never personally met somebody who is so selfless, that puts so many above himself, that takes the mission seriously when it comes to the veteran community and ways to help. You take it serious. You take it the way people should. You're definitely a mentor to me in that way, and I'm sure many others. So, I know it's your podcast, brother, but I don't think you give yourself enough credit out there for all the things you've done too. And just a little part that I've been able to play in it, man, I'm honored for it. So thank you for everything you've done for me.
No,
Because
you,
selfishly, being able to do those things is what makes me feel good. That gives me purpose, right? And you've definitely helped me fulfill my purpose in life. And not many people can say that.
yeah. I don't know how to take those kind of compliments, so I'm just going to say, let's move on real quick and thank you. I love you.
All good. Love you too, brother.
We got some big things coming out this year. So number one, first and foremost, go check out transcendcompany.com. Just get an understanding of what they do, how you can get involved, how you can get your treatments and your protocols set up. Go invest in the initial burst of it. Go get your blood panels run through Transcend and see where you're at, see where your deficiencies are, and then see how they can help you. If you're on the fence, call me or email me, and I will help you through the process, because I am always open. I am never too far away from anybody to be reached. So reach out to me, DM me, whatever it is. On the foundation side, every charity needs donors. We need sponsors. And with this specific deal, it's when the troops come back and the first responders who see chaos every day within their local communities and the police and the EMS, they need a reboot. And this is a huge reboot for them. So being able to offer these services to these people requires dollars. So if you can, at any level, please support the foundation at transcendfoundation.com. And we would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's about $1,000 to take a veteran or a first responder and pay for their entire medications and labs and things they need for an entire year. Obviously we don't expect a donation of that kind of size, but anything helps, because it all adds up. And when we see that, we're able to go out and do more and connect with more foundations and just get to know more in the community. And we find a lot of people that need that help. And I mean, Ryan, you've seen it. I'd say we've had some pretty good testimonials. We've had some guys that have really needed some help, and I think we've had some pretty good stories. And I just want to find more. So if you donate, that's where your money's going. It's going right back to the team people that need it, and we're going to do everything we can to seek them out and get them help.
100% you are, because I'm not a paid advocate for Transcend. I was a patient before we started working in different projects in this podcast together. I was a patient first, and so it's the truth, and it has changed my life, my physiology, to help me feel better, to be able to not only communicate and execute better, but also just to perform better. So go check it out. And then finally, I will say that a massive, probably the biggest project that I have ever encountered in life is called the 7X Human Performance Project. And that will be dropping this year. That is put on by Transcend Company and Transcend Foundation. So gear up, go check out their social media, because we'll be pushing out word. We'll also be pushing out word on our charity Bird's Eye View project and on 7X on our Instagram. And so keep in touch with that, because we're going to release a whole lot of stuff, with the base of everything being Transcend helping us get to where we needed to be through this project of human performance. So really appreciate you being on, brother, and being so open and sharing, and more importantly, just stepping up to the plate to help everybody out there, giving them this opportunity to find themselves again, to heal, to get better, to be educated on we need to take health back in our own hands, and then making it so seamless that it's impossible not to do. So I really appreciate you doing this.
Hey, I appreciate the time and the platform to be able to, spread that message, and hopefully somebody out there maybe who needs this sees it and it helps them, and we get another opportunity to have another success story, brother. So thank you for that. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Well, I know that you are busy, so you're going to get back at it, and I'll talk to you in about a month, probably tomorrow. But anyway, yeah. I love you, man. Thank you for being on, and we will be pushing this out here soon.
Love you, brother.
Frogman Friday. Long